Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And in today's video, we're going to be covering the most crazy set of hero talents, the Diabolist for the Warlock. This is a hero talent tree that is going to be shared amongst Demonology and Destruction Warlocks, and in my mind, should be the setting benchmark for what these hero talents should be delivering on, because these things are insane fantasy, insane power, and do a great job of merging the best parts of these specializations together. I absolutely love this talent tree, so I'm going to love covering it for you guys. The base ability that you're going to be getting with this talent tree is called Diabolic Ritual. Spending a soul shard grants Diabolic Ritual for 20 seconds. While Diabolic Ritual is active, each soul shard spent reduces its duration by 1 second. And when Diabolic Ritual expires, you gain Demonic Art, causing your next ability that costs soul shards to summon an Overlord, a Mother of Chaos, or a Pit Lord that unleashes a devastating attack against your enemies. This plays into like the staple Doom mechanic from Warlocks, which was typically putting a debuff on an enemy, and instead now is going to be a buff on yourself that through spending your soul shards is going to explode to summon in this massive demon. So it's a nice little play on an already kind of really niche existing fantasy for Warlock, and we're going to dive more into the specifics of it. The next talent down is the Cloven Souls. Enemies damaged by your Overlord have their souls cloven, increasing damage taken by you and your pets by 10%. So if you happen to summon in an Overlord from this, you're going to get 10% more damage on that target. The next one, Soul Etched Circles. You always gain the benefit of Soul Burn when casting Demonic Circle Teleport, increasing your movement speed by 50% and making you immune to snares and roots for 6 seconds. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't like having a lot of keybinds, this could cut your keybind bloat down a bit, not really needing to have Soul Burn specifically for Portal, although it is generally a good idea for Hellstone, although you could make a macro for that, possibly even make a macro for Gateway because you don't use them as frequently as you do with your Portal in those situations. Not super stellar, honestly, on this front, kind of removing some gameplay with the soul shards. Annihilan's Bellow. Howl of Terror cooldown is reduced by 15 seconds and range is increased by 5 yards. This one also not super stellar. I feel like this is being used as an attempt to try and make Howl of Terror more of an appealing talent for Demonology and Destruction Warlocks, but it's competing directly with Mortal Coil, which is typically a more powerful crowd control effect, at least in PvP. Now, this can be useful in situations where you need to fear like pets off of yourself. Assuming there could be a lot of pets, but losing coils with Havoc as destruction is like such a core staple that I don't see that competing with it. So this is likely going to just be an auto locked in Soul Etched Circles where you're getting just a free soul shard by being able to use your portal and still getting the soul burn effect. The next one is Flames of Zoroth. Fire damage increased 2% and damage dealt by your demons increased by 2%. Kind of a boring, kind of just a flat level passive. My biggest criticism towards some of these talents is that a lot of them are just kind of modifiers stacking on existing modifiers, which is likely going to be problematic, at least when it comes to tuning the classes. And this one's just so minor that I don't think it's really going to matter, so it's a little bit disappointing. The next one is Touch of the Rancora. Diabolic Ritual increases the damage of your next ability that costs soul shards by 30% and reduces its cast time by 50%. So I don't know if this is Diabolical Rich when it starts. Your next Chaos Bolt is going to be fast casted because then it lets you trigger the ritual faster, or if it means after the ritual is over and the demon is out that you're going to get this fast cast. It's a little bit uncertain within the tooltip as to whether or not it is those instances, but this is really powerful for destruction. You already have baseline talents that allow you to increase the speed of your Chaos Bolt, so having another way to do that is going to feel really strong and powerful. For Demonology, this is going to speed up your Hand of Gul'dan, which is likely going to be more impactful with the talents that are lower down on the tree here for Warlock. The next choice node is Cruelty of Zeran, which is going to be Nether Portal, Summon Demonic Tyrant, and Summon Infernal will grant you Diabolic Ritual and reduce its duration by 3 seconds. So you can spend a soul shard on a Shadow Burn, and then when you call in your Infernal, it's going to trigger that to get, complete the ritual even faster. Infernal Machine, your soul shard spending abilities decrease the duration of Diabolic Ritual by 1 additional second, while your Demonic Tyrant, Nether Portal, or Infernal is active. So it depends on which area, if you think you're going to be able to free cast or not, really, depending on these. If you think you're going to be able to free cast and get a lot of soul shards off, I think as Destro, you'd probably have no problem with Shadow Burn being able to do this, running Infernal Machine. But if you feel like you're really not going to be able to, Cruelty of Zeran is probably going to be a good fallback option. Abyssal Dominion, Grimoire, Felguard, and Cataclysm. When I first read this, I was thinking, oh my god, Cataclysm, are we really going to be using an ability for Cataclysm? Like, it's off in the right side of the corner, you got to take a bunch of Rain of Fire stuff to get it, and I was actually frustrated when I read that was going to be it, until I read what it actually did. Demonology, it's going to be Grimoire, Felguard, lasts 3 seconds longer, and just has a 30-second cooldown reduced. That is really powerful. You're going to get an extra stun, and that bad boy does a lot of damage. It's going to be really powerful with the talents that enhance your Felguard. But for destruction, casting Cataclysm is going to summon an Overfiend that casts Chaos Bolt 2 times at 80% effectiveness before departing. Now, 80% effectiveness is still pretty big value. Like, I mean, if it's Chaos Bolt's hitting for 300k, I'm not good at math, but that's probably like, you know, somewhere between 2 to 250,000 damage on the current health pool. So having that thing casting Chaos Bolts, you get this speedy, fast Chaos Bolt while summoning in a bunch of demons. Sounds really fun. Moving into the right side, we got the Secrets of the Coven. Mother of Chaos empowers your next Shadow Bolt or Incinerate to become Demon Fire Barrage. So the Mother of Chaos is one of the demons that can be summoned here. It's a little bit frustrating that there's some RNG elements of this. If you get the Overlord, you're getting the 10% damage taken increase. If you get the Pit Lord, I'm assuming you get the mechanics that baseline Pit Lord gets. And if you get the Mother of Chaos, you get this effect, which is not the most spectacular. It really depends on how much damage it ends up doing. But it's going to basically turn your Shadow Bolt into Demon Fire Barrage or your Incinerate. Now, in PvP, this could be problematic for Destro because Incinerate is used as an instant cast typically when you're getting attacked. So if it suddenly transforms into this and you press it and you start channeling a spell and get kicked, assuming that this is on Chaos, it could really set you back. But for Demonology, converting Shadow Bolt into this could likely give you more accessible damage. So might be more frustrating for Destro than it will be Demonology. And it really depends on how much damage it ends up doing. It does say, you know, channel a barrage of 4 Shadow Bolts at 150% effectiveness. So it sounds pretty big. If it ends up feeling pretty big, it's going to feel good. A bit worried about the RNG of like which demon ends up actually being the best. And if you're not spawning the best one over maybe your opponent who is spawning the correct one and you're starting to lose because of that, they got to be really careful with the tuning on the throughput of these demons, so it's not as big of a deal depending on which one you're rolling. The next choice node is bringing back a Miss Pandaria fantasy, and some of these talents that I'm going to be covering in future videos have been bringing back a lot of mechanics from Miss Pandaria if you enjoyed that expansion. And this one is Infernal Vitality. Unending Resolve heals you for 30% of your maximum health over 10 seconds, which is like Dark Regeneration from Miss Pandaria, although it is baked together into this one ability, which could be likely difficult. Now, I feel like Destruction, at least, Demonology has quite a lot of keybinds with the pet management, but Destruction's not super keybind dense. So I could honestly have seen this talent tree, you know, maybe adding an additional keybind and bringing back Dark Regeneration, because Unending Resolve in its current state, you know, it's used very infrequently. So although it's bringing back that trope from Miss Pandaria, it may not end up actually being that powerful. Infernal Bulwark, Unending Resolve grants Soul Leech equal to 10% of your maximum health and increases your maximum amount of Soul Leech can absorb by 10%. So both of these seem really similar to each other, and honestly, on paper, it's hard for me to tell which one is better. And this is a choice where it feels like just which one is better, I'm going to pick that. It's perhaps that Infernal Vitality, you know, is going to be better for burst healing maybe, whereas Infernal Bulwark will give you a little bit more sustained healing. But I feel like the numbers on this are so close to each other that I can't even tell which one is better or what situation you'd want to use each one in. Maybe they could make that a better distinction. Now we've got Gloom of Nathriza. For Demonology, it's just going to be Hannah Gul'dan is going to deal 15% increased damage for each soul shard spent. Remember, we're going to have this Rancora making it faster after a diabolic ritual, which was what I was talking about. So making Hannah Gul'dan having more impact, I think is going to be very fun mechanically for Demonology, because typically it's not just about getting the imps on the field, so making it do more damage could be really cool. For Destruction Warlocks, enemies marked by your Havoc are just going to take 5% increased additional damage from your single target spells, so 5% more Chaos Bolt damage. Fortunately, against people in PvP that can dispel Havoc, this thing's probably not going to have a lot of impact. And now, finally, the capstone, Ruination. Summoning a Pit Lord causes your next Hannah Gul'dan or Chaos Bolt to become Ruination. Ruination will call down a demon-infested meteor from the depths of the twisting nether, dealing chaos damage on impact to all enemies within 8 yards of the target and summoning 3 wild imps. Now, I'm assuming this means Destro will also get these wild imps. So when you summon in this Pit Lord, I don't know how it would work with getting Rancora, if that would increase the speed, or if Ruination is instant cast or not. Because like if this is like the equivalent of an instant cast, because it doesn't say if it has cast time or not. it could be really crazy. So like to me, this talent tree, although some of them, you know, a little bit more boring or interesting, may not have super big impacts in PvP. There's a lot of different modes of the game for them to cover. I feel like it hit the nail on the head as far as fantasy is concerned and merging them all together. I am worried about the RNG nature of the demons being summoned from the ritual and their impact. They need to be really closely tuned. But aside from that, this talent tree is a big winner. This is what I would have expected for a hero talent tree. So if you've enjoyed this video and this coverage, make sure to smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments down below. What are your thoughts? Do you think that this is looking like a good talent tree for you? And I will see you in the next video.